how can the Big 12 and the ACC prevent the Power 2 from pulling away further? Well, it's a very complicated question. It's a loaded question with a complicated answer, but I'm going to try to give some things that I think might work. Might. No guarantees. They're lagging behind the Big Ten and the SEC in a pretty big way right now. But I don't want a Power 2. I do not want what the NFL is. I want there to be a few conferences, not all of them equal, but where they're within striking distance of each other and all of them can at least field one national title contender a year. The Big 12 is doing that a little bit with Texas Tech, and that's because of elite investment. They're willing to outspend anyone or spend close to the top of the food chain. They're in the state of Texas. They hired a coach in Joey McGuire who's an elite recruiter, has high school connections all across the state of Texas. They're winning on the field because they have a fantastic general manager and great support staff and strength and conditioning staff. They're doing it all. The model that Texas Tech has set forth before us, the model that Clemson did back in the day, you just got to adapt it to the new rules. The model that Miami is trying right now, they haven't totally failed yet this year. They failed last year. Looks like they probably will fail this year, but that's not a guarantee yet. The ACC and Big 12 at large, not just those select teams, needs to follow that model. Florida State needs to get more serious. Utah and BYU, keep doing what you're doing. Arizona State, leverage your massive alumni network. For other schools like Duke, NC State, UNC, a lot of these Carolina schools, care about football more. Basketball's a cool thing. Spend in basketball, but maybe spend a bit more in football or find a donor who specifically cares about football and tab him to support your football program. Everyone needs to care about college football in these two conferences if they want to have any hope at being in the same stratosphere as the Big Ten and the SEC. Even if they all care about football, it's not a guarantee they'll be in that same category as those two. I think that's especially the case for the ACC because the Big 12's gotten a jump start with Texas Tech and some of these other programs. But this will not hurt, for sure. Another point is that the big spenders succeed. So Texas Tech, they're succeeding right now. BYU, they spend. Look at their basketball program, look at their football program, like getting the commitment of Ryder Lyons. They're successful. Baylor has been a big spender under Dave Aranda, or at least recently they're coming to it, and that's probably the only reason they haven't collapsed with his coaching. Miami's leveled up because of their approach to NIL. Clemson, they don't spend a lot in the portal. They don't brand themselves as an NIL program, but they spend more than people think they do. And Florida State, to get those portal classes they had, required them to spend in some capacity. The big spenders succeed. It's not an exact science, but it helps. And these conferences need their big spenders to succeed. So the worst thing that's happened to the ACC is that Miami has continuously shot itself in the foot despite spending the way they have. That is the worst possible thing that's happened. The ACC would have definitely preferred, and it probably would have been better for college football if Miami made the playoff in 2024 and not Clemson. It would have benefited the ACC more. It would have benefited the ACC had Florida State not fallen off to the same degree that it did. Now, maybe that will save them from never being able to get back to the mountaintop, because I don't think Norvell was the guy to take him there. But that still sucked and was a huge gut punch. SMU, I can't even believe I left them off this list. They're massive spenders. Having them continue to level up talent-wise and eventually get to a point where they're always contending for the playoffs, huge. Getting Virginia Tech to improve under Franklin, getting Baylor to improve, the Kansas schools investing more in football. These things will help them stay within striking distance to where the Big Ten and the SEC won't totally separate from them, or maybe if they can, they might have enough respect for them to not do them in. This channel will make you a college football expert and help you enjoy watching games and make more accurate predictions. So what are you waiting for? Like, subscribe, ring the notification bell, comment your thoughts, and watch the video all the way through so that you can get the full package. And check the description and pinned comment for more ways to help yourself and this channel. Tough non-conference scheduling. This is a way you can stick it to the Big Ten and SEC. If you improve, you can get to a point where you can schedule them every year. You can risk a quality loss, which won't hurt you all that much, in exchange for potentially big wins. Utah, this year, I have watched Utah closely. They could beat some of the top SEC and Big Ten teams this year. None of those teams would be a guaranteed blowout for BYU. Now, many of them could blow out BYU. I think many of them would blow out BYU. Or BYU and Utah. But they would not have a guaranteed win over Utah, especially if they played them on the road. They just wouldn't. BYU, a little bit of a different story, but BYU would be in the upper third of the Big Ten, certainly in the upper half. They would beat up on a lot of those smaller Big Ten teams that plenty of Big Ten teams can't do. Texas Tech, say Texas Tech had Penn State's schedule. So they had to play Oregon, Iowa, Indiana, and Ohio State. They had to play like 4 of the nation's best defenses, 3 wonderful offenses. Texas Tech probably goes 9-3 and maybe even 10-2 with that schedule. There's a world where they even go 11-1. Like, they could beat anyone on that schedule. At Ohio State would obviously be the hardest game, especially if we assume all those teams are the same as they were in those matchups. But Tech is legit, man. Like, Tech can win it all. And we've talked about that before on this channel. We've talked about it. You can search up that video. It's like literally like why Texas Tech football can win it all, or something like that's the title on the channel. Scheduling these tougher out of conference games will help boost your overall strength of schedule, your credibility, and you can have an opportunity to earn these big wins, which can, pull recruits away from competitors outside the conference or even inside the conference. It's the same thing with the ACC. Like, Miami scheduling Notre Dame. Respect. Proud of you. Same thing with keeping Florida on the schedule. Like, that's a good thing. And winning both of those games, even with the 2 losses in ACC play, that's huge for the ACC. That's huge for Miami. I mentioned this earlier, but if more Texas Techs can pop up in the Big 12 and the ACC, it will not just be better for college football. It'll be better for these conferences for sure. Because many SEC schools are incapable of doing what Texas Tech is. A&M can. Texas can. Alabama can. Georgia can. Not necessarily exactly in the same spending department, but they can sort of level that out with their reputation, for example. Maybe LSU can. Outside of that, I don't really think anyone else can do what Texas Tech does from a money standpoint. Miami, for example, outspends possibly every SEC school minus the Texas ones, like from an NIL standpoint. So, Clemson, do you have any wealthy alumni? And can you maybe force Dabo Swinney, or if he retires and you get someone new in there who's all about spending, just spend, and make sure you have a good enough staff to utilize that properly. Does anyone else in the Big 12 or ACC have wealthy donors or isn't utilizing them? Go to them, sell the program to them, and hopefully get some serious investment. The more Texas Techs these conferences can produce, the better. And finally, keep talent home. So a lot of these schools, Georgia Tech has been trying to do this, and they've had some success. Miami has had success in Florida. Clemson, they're falling off a bit there, and they can't afford to have that happen. Tech is doing a really good job getting in key players. For Utah, like BYU, Utah has some good high school football. Like, keep those guys in state. For the Kansas schools, for the Midwest schools, like whenever you have that rare talent pop up, try to keep him home. I know that you are not outside of some of the Big 12 schools in Texas and some of the ACC schools and the Carolinas, Virginias. This is more of an ACC thing, honestly, than a Big 12 thing. But it applies to the Big 12 too. Keep your talented players home. And if you invest, you spend, and you win, you will be able to do that. That's how the Big 12 and ACC can try to catch up to the Big 10 and the SEC. Maybe even if they do all those things, they won't, but maybe they will. It never hurts to try, and they'll certainly catch up or at least close some of the ground with those conferences if they do those things. Thank you for watching. It's my mission on College Football with Sam to make you the most informed, knowledgeable, and entertained fan as possible. We aren't perfect, but we hit the nail on the head more often than we hit our thumb with the hammer. Make sure to like, subscribe, ring the notification bell, comment, and if you're here, you've probably already watched the whole video. So thank you for doing those things.